are here with Heike from Rovos Rail in South Africa. Could you please tell us about your product?
Yes, well basically Rovos Rail is like the Orient Express in Africa. It's the brainchild of a gentleman called Rowan Foss, and I always refer to him in a very kind way as a bit of a lunatic and a visionary. He started the company about 30 years ago, and initially his idea was to have 2-3 carriages, rebuild them, make a caravan out of it and put his family on there and travel through South Africa. And in the end the idea just got a bit more expensive than he thought it would, and he started selling tickets, and that's how Rovos Rail was born. And we pride ourselves being the most luxurious train in the world, and we are. It is the most beautiful train. We've got a magnificent continent we're going through. It's a very nostalgic train. There's no TV, no Wi-Fi. We force people to relax, and we're very good at that. We have good food, good wines, and that's in a nutshell what Rovos Rail is about.
So how many days would a trip with Rovos Rail be? And where does it, between which cities is it going?
We start and end in Pretoria. That's our head office. I can maybe show you on the map. For example, the shortest trip is a 3-day, 2-night journey going from Pretoria down to Cape Town. We've also got a beautiful journey going Pretoria to Durban, which is another 3-day, 2-night journey. We also go up to the Victoria Falls, which is very popular at the moment. It's a 4-day trip. But we also, a few years ago, started having longer journeys. And the most special of that is a route going Cape Town all the way up to Dar es Salaam, through South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia and Tanzania. So that is the longest journey, 15 days. We also do golfing safaris for people who want to chase little white balls. And we also have a beautiful trip to Namibia.
So actually we are talking about a form of cruise on rails. So will this train stop on the way, or is it just a direct train ride?
We're like the milk train. We stop every 3 hours, and most of the time we know why we're stopping. Sometimes we don't. And en route we also have official stops. So it is, as you say, it's like a cruise. We've got set itineraries, we've got excursions which are included in the rate. So for example, on the Durban trip you would stop for a safari. You go out for 2-3 hours, you go on an open game drive vehicle, you see animals, you come back on the train, and then the other stop is more of a cultural excursion. And the third stop goes to a ceramic gallery. So each and every trip has excursions. And yeah, so it is like a cruise by rail indeed.
When you're on a cruise you would be afraid of waves, and for those of us that has been riding with a night train, we know that on the rails it's not as quiet as it would be in a hotel. Is that a concern for you?
We've got very good wine, and I usually recommend guests to have 2-3 glasses of wine for dinner. Then they'll have a good night's sleep. But what the concept on Rovos is actually that in our running times we have built-in sleeping time. So in a perfect world, and I say in a perfect world because we're never on time, but generally we would travel until dinner, into dinner, maybe just after dinner, and round about midnight the train would stop for 4-5 hours of sleeping time in order for guests to get a good night's sleep. And then we would continue early in the morning again. And it has the advantage that you do get a good night's sleep because you're not used to the moving on the train. And Rovos is an old train. It does rattle, it does shake. That's the beauty of the train. It's an authentic train. And you also don't miss out on the scenery. So if you only move in the morning again, you can wake up, open your window, look outside, and the train starts moving.
From my experience with night trains here in Norway, I would remember a very small cabin with 3 bunk beds with nearly any place to breathe. How would the accommodation about Rovos Rail be the same?
No, my cabins are larger than the average Norwegian hotel room. No, actually based back to the owner, Mr. Foss, he's a 2-meter guy. So when he initially came up with the idea of Rovos, he designed the compartments the way he would imagine a nice train to look like. And his main his concept of luxury is space. So even our smallest compartment, it is about 7 square meters, which sounds small, but you've got 2 big windows. You can open those windows, so you already have the feeling you've got all of Africa ahead of you, and you've got your own bathroom en suite. So it doesn't matter if it's the smallest or the biggest, you've got your own toilet, bathroom, shower. And in the smallest, you have a bunk bed that folds to a bed at night. But the standard cabin and the biggest, you've got a permanent bed. So in all essence, and that is one of the reasons why we say that we're the most luxurious train in the world, it is very spacious. Considering you're on a train, it really is a very spacious train.
What kind of people is traveling with the Rovos Rail? Is it families or old people or young people? Or
that's the beauty as well. It's a mixture of everything. I started with Rovos about 20 years ago, and initially when I started, I thought it's only old rich people with grey hair, and I have never been so wrong. It is, I think the cruise clientele generally has changed the last 20, 30 years. It's become a lot younger. We have families every now and then. We have honeymooners. We have people celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. It is a mixture. I would say the bulk of our guests is still 55 upwards, but I've seen so many people in their 70s and they're so young at heart doing something like Rovos because we're still a down-to-earth product. Somebody who enjoys train travel ultimately enjoys good food, good wine, but is also still very active. They might go hike up Kilimanjaro and then they would do a train trip like Rovos. So our clientele is a mixture of age groups and also different nationalities. We've got predominantly the old world markets, UK, USA, Germany. We do have a lot of Scandinavians, Dutch. So usually if you've got 70 people on the train, it is a mix of people.
A luxury train ride is probably not the cheapest holiday you can make. What should we expect from the pricing of the trip with Rovos Rail?
It's actually not as bad as it always sounds. People expect that we are more expensive than we actually are. I worked it out, and a 3-day trip, Cape Town or Durban, starts at 13,000 Norwegian crowns per person, and that is fully inclusive. Meals, beverages, off-train excursions. So I always joke, especially here in Norway, and I say it's cheaper than Norway and you don't have to pay for your wine.
Well, that sounds good in Norwegian's ear, I guess. For people that like to know more about Rovos Rail, where should they look?
They can have a look at each and every good travel agency to operator that works with Southern Africa. They should be able to contact Rovos and make the booking. Otherwise, we've got a very good webpage. It's www.rovos.com.